people don't want to get into the nuances of a discussion about what's going on right now with Israel and Gaza, and understand that you can say you gotta let food in, you gotta let water in, and that you're not endorsing what Hamas did.
Yeah, and this is absolutely critical and the conversation that we should be having as it relates to the judgment of the nations, because this is relevant right here and right now. So when we read the third story in the illustrations that Jesus used in Matthew 25, we need to be applying the injunction of Jesus to respond to the needs of the most vulnerable as it relates to having a nuanced view of what's happening. The reign of Christ. Our focus text comes from Psalm 100. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is he that made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name. For the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. We encourage you to read during the week Ezekiel 34, verses 11 through 16, the 100th Psalm, Ephesians 1, 15 through 23, and Matthew 25, 31 through 46. This week, our sermonic message will focus again on Matthew 25, our lectionary text, verses 31 through 46.
In this season of gratitude for the harvest, what do we each have to be thankful for? You want to take that one?
I think that the way my brain is wired, I tend to hyper focus on things that need to be improved, or things that we are striving toward, or what needs to be fixed, problems to be solved. And it's good to intentionally slow down for a season to really practice and get into the habit of focusing intentionally on the blessings that we have to be thankful for, of family, of friends, of our fellowship within congregation, our ecumenical fellowship.
The second question is, what are some ways that we can respond to the gracious blessings of God?
I was thinking of this question in the context of Matthew 25, of going through the three stories that Jesus was using to teach. The first one focusing on making sure that your own vessel is full, being engaged in self-care and filling oneself up. The second one being on making sure that the gifts that God has graciously granted us, that we are investing them wisely and growing them. And then the one for this week being focused on the consequences to nations, the judgment of the nations, based on whether or not the wealth of the nation is used to feed the hungry, and to ensure that those who are thirsty are given to drink, and those who have need are responded to with kindness. When we have so much and we're given so much, to respond to that by being willing to share with those who are in need, and recognizing that I'm also in need, and that we all have times in which we are the giver and other times in which we're the receiver.
What I took from that was providing for others, ensuring that others have what they need if you have it. If you have two coats and somebody doesn't have one, it really doesn't hurt to give up one. People don't want to get into the nuances of a discussion about what's going on right now with Israel and Gaza, and understand that you can say, you gotta let food in, you gotta let water in, and that you're not endorsing what Hamas did.
Yeah, and this is absolutely critical, and the conversation that we should be having as it relates to the judgment of the nations, because this is relevant right here and right now. So when we read the third story in the illustrations that Jesus used in Matthew 25, we need to be applying the injunction of Jesus to respond to the needs of the most vulnerable as it relates to having a nuanced view of what's happening, because it applies whether we're talking about Russia and Ukraine, Israel, and the distinction between the attack by Hamas and the Palestinians as a people. It has to do with what is happening now again in Darfur and Rwanda. My ability to influence what's happening in those places is limited to prayer and discussion, and hopefully putting into office people who will be willing to have a nuanced view and to do nuanced work around those issues, in order to not just collapse in a heap with the weight of the global situations that we're in, to be able to go ahead and build up a community here where I actually have some influence, so that I'm just taking glimpses or snippets and reading headlines and not going too far into it, but trying to stay aware of it at the same time. These actually are the circumstances that we need to be applying the scriptural text to. When Jesus said that he would sort the nations, and some would be categorized on team sheep and some on team goat. I mean, it could have been the red team and the blue team. It could have been the dragons and the buffaloes or whatever. But what team are you on? Are you on the team that feed the hungry, care for the thirsty, tend to the most vulnerable, or are you on the team who accumulates power and wealth and does nothing with it to respond with gratitude for your own blessings? Didn't mean to preach. Save that for
because it bothers me that we can't have nuanced discussion, that that we can't see that A can be good and bad at the same time. I won't use a nation's name there, but it can have, its actions can be both good and bad, can be justified and an overreach, and that the discussions need to take place to help them to understand, not let revenge guide you. Because when we want to get revenge, mind just goes to the worst. we want to get revenge. We take it a step further than the people who have harmed us do it. And then they come back, they want to get revenge. And they take it. I mean, it's just an escalation. And so, yeah.
And it ties right back into the church school lesson discussion about liberty and freedom and having the liberty to choose. I think about our nation. You talked about nation A or B, whatever nation, that applies to our nation, for which we do have some responsibility. We're neither all good nor all bad, and we can love our nation and still work toward holding us accountable for the injustices that we've enacted around the world, and stop acting as if speaking those things aloud are somehow unpatriotic. As a matter of fact, it's patriotic for us to take a stand for actually living into the vision of being a representative republic that has a representative democracy in place. And we can't function that way unless we become people who are willing to have the tough discussions and recognize the nuances in them.
That's the only way we can become and or maintain, depending on whether you think we already became that or not, that city on the hill that other people look up to.
Yes, and to recognize that at a spiritual level, these temporary nations rise and fall, but the kingdom of God is an eternal and visible kingdom that exists in our hearts and minds, that we choose to operate out of those principles in order to shape the world around us and to participate with God in shaping the world around us, to be the ones who build up that which we are sent into the world to help build up. But the reality is that we're dealing with principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. And Jesus is addressing that with the whip in the temple. So let's participate with him. God bless you, and thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, it is Jesus. Yes, it is Jesus. It's Jesus in my soul. For I have touched the hem of his garment, and his blood has made me whole. Oh, it is Jesus. Yes, it is Jesus. It's Jesus in my soul. For I have touched the hem of his garment, and his blood has made me whole. Oh, it is Jesus. Yes, it is Jesus. It's Jesus in my soul. For I have touched the hem of his garment, and his blood has made me whole. For I have touched the hem of his